Hickok 45, your internet shooting companion, coming to you without the music, but from Middle Tennessee, the home. Well, Middle Tennessee is not the home, but Tennessee is the home of Dolly Parton, Alvin York, oh man, Johnny Cash, Elvis Presley. I could name a lot of folks who I think were not born here maybe, but lived here a great deal of their lives. And so I'm not sure of the research on everybody. A lot of people, though, lived here in Tennessee at some point in their lives and went on to become famous. Or maybe they were famous before they even got here. I don't think Sam Colt ever lived in Tennessee. Oh, but you know what, by the way? John Browning's father, Jonathan Browning, did live in Tennessee, and around Nashville, not too far over in Sumner County. So I had known that, but I had forgotten that. So wow, talk about roots of greatness right here in Middle Tennessee, not 40 minutes from where I'm sitting here in the, where am I, New York City? No, I think I'm sitting in the woods again, talking to myself. Oh boy, I need therapy, don't I? But anyway, it's good to talk to you again. It's been a while. I've had some requests to get out another Shooting the Breeze. There actually are some sick people that watch these, and probably even to the very end where the dancing girls come out. There probably are a few, although there are very rarely comments about that. So you're just trying to protect me, I know, taking care of me, so appreciate that. So yeah, here I am in the woods talking to you, back in Tennessee. Many of you know that John and I did a tour out west and went to the SHOT Show. We do that every January. So it's kind of a retreat for us, and we take in SHOT Show while we're there. SHOT Show is, of course, a big event, but it's, I don't know what the percentage would be, but it's just a piece of the trip, okay? I mean, think about it. An old cowboy like me going through West Texas, Tombstone, Utah, and some gorgeous places out west. So Las Vegas is not the end all. Okay, but it's pretty cool. It's a little different. So, yeah, we were at SHOT Show, but we made our way there by going through Tombstone again. You might have seen a picture. I think I posted one on Instagram, maybe, or Facebook, of John and me sitting at a cigar shop there in Tombstone. That's a tradition. We always make a stop there in the little cigar shop, the old time cigar shop, and have a cigar of all things. Cool place, Tombstone. If you ever get a chance to go there, the setting is half of it, of course. The fact that it's in Arizona, southern Arizona, very southern Arizona, so you generally get better weather. We were coming through Arkansas, parts of West Tennessee, in the snowstorm on the way out, and then just a couple of days later, we're standing in Tombstone, and it was 70 degrees, so that was pretty cool. That was, well, not too cool, 70 degrees. But anyway, that was a great trip, and we, of course, enjoyed SHOT Show. There were, massive crowds as always. We didn't get through all the rooms and all the booths. We seemed to have a bunch of meetings this time that we didn't even plan. But we met with a lot of people that support us, had breakfast or lunch and that sort of thing. And then some other things came up, and we had some meetings with folks, but didn't even intend to do that. Thought we'd actually get through more of the show this time. Didn't really do it. Met a lot of you, okay? Yeah, you know it, don't you? And that was good. So good to meet you. You're a little funny looking, but it was good to meet you at the SHOT Show. You either sneaked in or you worked for a gun shop or something. Somehow you got in there, and there were a lot of you. So it's always good to meet you all, the viewers, the people who make this possible. For me to come out and sit in the woods and yak, right? So that was good. And of course we saw some of the new firearms, some of the old firearms. I enjoyed seeing the new SIG P365 after so much talk about it. Maybe it wasn't quite as impressive as I thought it would be, but it seems fine. I've got one coming in a day or two, so I actually get to hold it again and shoot it. They wouldn't let me shoot it on the floor there at the SHOT Show. How lame is that? Couldn't even get anybody to give me any ammo or a firing pin for the thing. And so anyway, but I did hold it, took a couple of pictures, bad pictures of it, but I don't know. I mean, it holds 10 rounds. That's what's amazing. It strikes me as, I was thinking it'd be kind of a Glock 26 size firearm with a thinner slide or something, but it really strikes you more as a Glock 43. I'll have to look at it again, but I didn't have the comparison there to be made. For some reason, there were no Glocks at the SIG booth. You know, imagine that. But it really struck me more of a firearm like that in that size. It almost struck me as a firearm that thin, but you know, it has a double stack magazine. So I'll have to compare them when I get it, and then I'll do it for you all on video. That's what this is about, right? It's all about you guys and us. A lot of firearms we do just because I love them. And then there's some firearms we do because you love them or you want to see them. So we've always had kind of a combination of things. It's funny, someone will occasionally, we may do a video on an old Winchester or some old Colt or something. And some, well, how come you don't have the new gun? Why don't you do the new Ruger and do this? Yeah, well, we probably will. We'll get to it. But that's not really the main part of our shtick. You know, it's just, we just like, dare I say, love. We like guns, and as Steve Lee's saying about, we like guns, all sorts of them, and anything that's kind of interesting to me or anything I pick up, because I wouldn't buy it if I didn't like it, I'll probably do a video on it, tell you what I know about it. Maybe even some things I don't know about it. How's that? This is the Davey Colt, by the way. Most of you are familiar with that. The 3 consecutively serial numbered Colts, procured last year. Good thing. Don't know what's going on at Colt. They really had a small booth at the SHOT Show. They normally have, like Smith & Wesson and everybody else, you know, I don't know, the equivalent of your house, you know, for a booth. We call it a booth, but it's equivalent of a house, really. The larger companies. This time it was not. It was not. It was about like the garage, the back of the garage. So I don't know. They tell me they're still making these things and that the custom shop is not shut down. But then I hear it is shut down. So we'll see as time moves on, I guess. What else did I see? We see, saw the new Ruger carbine, you know, the pistol caliber carbine. Got one of those coming in a couple of days also. Nice feeling firearm. It feels substantial. Doesn't feel cheap. You know, I didn't shoot it. I didn't get in the line. I shoot it at the range day, media day, whatever they call it now, industry day. The only thing I shot there was the new Glock 19X. That was just because it was right there and simple and no weight or anything. Because they've got one of those coming too tomorrow. But took a few shots with it, but I didn't shoot the carbine. It feels solid. It really does. I was a little surprised. Not that Ruger doesn't make solid firearms. I guess I was expecting it to feel maybe just like a 1022, just chambered in a 9mm kind of, you know, size. But it's a little hefty. You know, if it's reliable, that thing ought to sell 1 million, no doubt about it. And if it takes those Glock mags, you know, reliably, because that's one of the first things I'll do is take the adapter out and put the Glock adapter in, because I have a lot of Glock magazines. That's a newsflash for you, right? So I saw some other things that are kind of interesting. I'll tell you what I picked up that I fell in love with. Just smacked me upside the head, because it was a Sako, as it's supposed to be pronounced, but most people call it Seiko around here. But a Sako, Model 85 Bavarian. Okay, and guess what it was chambered in? The reason I picked it up, in 6.5 by 55 Swede, one of my very favorite rifle cartridges. I saw that, and, oh man, I picked it up, and felt like $1 million. Oh man, did it? It really did. Oh, it has sights on it, of all things. No, it's not a scope. It had iron sights on it, and they just come right up to your eye, and the thing just nestles in your shoulder. If you've ever felt a Sako Bavarian, they're all kind of like that. They all feel great. John has an older one, I forget what model it is. We have a video on it, but oh man, that thing felt wonderful. It's expensive. I may have finally, after a couple of years, found the modern rifle chambered in 6.5 that I'll have to have at some point. And I will put a scope on it, That's the reason I want one. If I'm going to just shoot iron sights 6.5 Swede, I've got, guess what? Swedish Mauser. And guess what? It's chambered in the Swede round. It's just amazing how that works out. But anyway, that was one of the things that stuck in my mind. You know, and as I said, we didn't get around to all the booths. We spent a lot of time talking to you all, and that's fine and dandy. That's fine and dandy. We love to meet and greet you guys. Anything else that I'm forgetting? Some things. I went through the Ruger booth and the Smith & Wesson booth pretty extensively. Trying to think of the booths that we did actually get to spend some time in. What was it? Smith & Wesson. I don't know if I saw anything there. It was exciting. Oh yeah, the Mossberg's got their shot. I forget what it's called now, but they've got the 500, I guess. It's got a name of some sort. M, maybe 500M or something. 590M, I don't know. But I think maybe the Shockwave's going to come out with that, with a detachable magazine. I'm not sure now. I saw so many new things, but the Mossberg now makes a pump shotgun that takes a box magazine, and it's really interesting looking. It's a big magazine. Of course, it has to be. I think they have like a 5-rounder, maybe a 10-rounder, maybe a 15-rounder. Not sure, but they're massive. Even the lower capacity ones. Well, shotgun shells, guess what? They're not small. But it's felt real solid, really solid. Oh, I know something I found too that surprised me. Went to the through the Remington area, and of course they own, or Freedom Group, whoever, owns all these companies, you know, Marlin and everybody. And John and I were looking at the new Marlins. We saw some that, you know, those lever guns didn't look too bad. The fit and finish wasn't perfect on some of them. But lo and behold, on one wall, they have, I think they call it the custom shop. Some Marlin lever guns from their custom shop. I don't know if you were aware of that. I was not. I keep meaning to go onto their website and look that up. But some beautiful gun. They're same firearms, you know, I think Model 94, the 95s and everything. And they are color case hardened frames and lever, I believe, hammer, I guess, tang and everything, receiver. And they were made they look to be made really well. You know, I mean, they better be. You're going to put something out of your custom shop and it's junk, but they look nice. They look nice. Maybe you would say they're like the old Marlins. I don't know what they cost. Maybe it's the same old Marlins from the old days, except like the JM models, except they're $2,000. I don't know. I didn't see any pricing, but they really were nice. Had nice wood and nice finish. They looked really well made, I'll have to say. So that's good news for Marlin lovers. Maybe it may cost more than you want to pay, but maybe you can actually buy a modern Marlin in the model you want without buying one that's, you know, 5, 10, 20 years old, you know, and get some good fitting and everything. I don't know, but that was a nice find. I was pleased about that. But lots of new guns and smaller carry guns and everything. Of course, that's always popular, and it just makes it more confusing for some people when all these new firearms come out. Well, like the SIG 365, P365, and others. There were new guns from just about every manufacturer, at least one, I guess. Maybe nothing astounding, but it's funny you see the reaction of some folks. I think it's great. Some people, you know, will say things, or they'll be so confused now. No, I don't know what I want, you know, or they almost seem mad. Have you noticed that? Whenever a new firearm comes out, I remember when the Glock 43, the Glock 42 came out, and then others that are like a SIG or whatever, some SIG wannabe or a SIG, what am I trying to say, a copy, you know, they'll just ask why, you know, and they seem upset about it. Or they'll throw out lines like, they're late to the game. I know that came up with Glock a lot when the 43 came out, or the 42. You're late to the game. Why bother? They're late to the game, you know. Well, I'm not aware there is a game, you know. I think the more choices, the better. That's what's great about this country, about a lot of the planet, you know, lots of choices. Think about these. There are, I don't know how many people make replicas of the Colt single action army. Is that a bad thing? Not really, competition's good, keeps prices fairly even, and gives you a lot of different, and me, a lot of different choices. So I don't care. It's just like trucks or cars or anything. The more choices, the better, because somebody might make one that fits exactly what you think your needs are and what you want, what you like. So anyway, lots of guns. And the thing is too, you might think you have settled on your perfect carry gun or your perfect target pistol, or rifle, or whatever it is, but our tastes tend to change as our skills, change over through the years, our preferences. It's just natural, maybe just time. You've had this firearm for 5 years and you like something different, and you trade it or you just buy something else. So the more choices, the better. That's the way I look at it. But anyway, it's a pretty good show. We, like I said, didn't get around as much as we'd like to, but we did. I don't guess I met any celebrities this year. See more of those at the NRA meeting generally, like Mossberg and folks like that. I didn't even see any gun writers I knew at the industry day this year. That's always neat, run into the gun writers you've been reading for 30 years, and that sort of thing. But went to the gun show before. There's always a really nice gun show for collectibles, more or less, at the Las Vegas, the same week of SHOT Show. It's normally after SHOT Show's over. This year it was the Saturday before. I happened to know that or run across that factoid. So we got there a couple days early. They went to that show. So that was pretty cool. So for those of you who go to the SHOT Show or you live in that area or anywhere close, just know that during that week, either the weekend before or weekend after, there's this incredible gun show at, I don't know if it's at the same hotel every year or not. It's at the West Gate, I believe it's called, right there off the strip. And it was a massive room of good old stuff, just like you'd see at the Tulsa gun show, old Colts and percussion revolvers and Winchester rifles and all that stuff. You might even see one from there before too long. But it was pretty cool. Enjoyed that because that was a real gun show. Those guns were real. They had firing pins in them. You could buy one. Unlike SHOT Show. Well, you can buy those too. It's just not at the show. Okay. So anyway, Las Vegas, crazy place. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. It's bright lights and, casinos. I'm not a big gambler. I always gamble a little bit. I don't know, just because it's there, but not much. Well, for me, it's not gambling. I'm just paying for a little bit of entertainment to do this, or whatever it is. And but it's going on everywhere, and lots of restaurants. We ate a lot of food, a lot of restaurants, and saw a lot of people. Like I say, met a lot of you all, and had a pretty good time. Pretty good time. It's a little bit of an overload. You go to Las Vegas, a lot of walking, no doubt about that. It's funny because Las Vegas is kind of a sensory overload, you could say, and it's such a contrast with our trip out there and back, because we drive and make a tour, and so we have been driving through the desert for hours, for 2 or 3 days to get there. Once you get past Dallas, past Fort Worth, you start getting into the desert. In case you didn't know that, you people living in Midland, Texas know that, or Deming, New Mexico, or Albuquerque or somewhere. But so you're driving for a couple of days at least, in nothing but desert essentially. And then you hit Las Vegas, which isn't a desert. You get downtown on the Strip, and we always stay right there in the Strip at the Venetian where the meeting is. And then it's totally different. It's bright lights and casinos, and it's crazy time. And then we get our overdose on that, and then we drive out of that lot. It's the same way every year. You drive out of that parking garage and you wind around through town, get on the interstate, and it's just a matter of a few minutes. Boom, you're back in the desert. And so it's a study in contrast, no doubt about it. It messes with your mind. If you have a mind to get messed with, which I don't have much of one, but it's pretty cool. It is cool. We left this time, instead of coming back 40, which is a boring drive for the most part, I-40, we went north You might have seen the posting. Some of you already know where we went because we posted a picture on Instagram. I did a couple of pictures, and we took a bunch of pictures in front of John Browning's old shop up in where? Yes, Ogden, Utah. And it had a bunch of them, so I ended up posting a couple of the worst ones, I think, on Instagram. But anyway, that's where we went. We drove north up Interstate 15 through Salt Lake City, up through Utah, and to Ogden, Mecca, gun designer Mecca. I always wanted to go there. We had thought about going and originally planned to go through there on the way out and do a different northern route. Didn't do it. And got to thinking about it while we were there, and I started checking mileage. I said, whoa, you know what? It's not as far as I thought it was from Las Vegas up to Ogden, Utah. And so we made the trek. And I want to tell you, as cool as it was getting there and seeing the John Browning Museum and everything and just basking, in the John Browning aura around there, the drive up I-15 from Las Vegas to Ogden, Utah, it's a sight to behold. Talk about sensory overload through the mountains, kind of. I mean, you're kind of driving up through a valley almost all the way, but the mountains on either side are most of it, and a lot of it was snow covered. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous. You think you're in the most beautiful Western movie scene you've ever been in for hours and hours and hours, for 6 hours. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And I've driven through the desert a lot. I've driven through the West a great deal now. And driving through Utah might have been that pretty much sets the record for me. That takes the cake. And I've always wanted to do that because we've touched on Utah, going up to Monument Valley and parts of southern Utah, mostly in the south. And I've told John for a couple, 3 years, we need to just spend more time in Utah. I want to get to Moab and just get around in Utah because it's just gorgeous from the pictures I've seen and then the part we've actually covered. So we did. That was the route. Went to Ogden and then came down through a different route back down towards Albuquerque. We came down through Moab in that area. So a different route. A lot of it's secondary road, especially the trip back down from Ogden, coming the route we came. And just gorgeous canyons and everything. The entire trip through Utah was just breathtaking. It was absolutely breathtaking. If you ever get a chance to do it, do it. It's really worth it. It really is. I kept thinking, nothing fancy lives somewhere in Utah, I think. And I called him one year when I knew we were going up into Utah a little bit. Or I didn't call him. I wrote him. I never did hear back. So I didn't write him this year. But I kept thinking, that looks kind of like that desert where I see his videos, where he's out there running around shooting. It'd be funny if we saw him over by the side of the interstate, running around shooting at something. But I mean, just beautiful country. It's just absolutely beautiful. But Ogden, of course, was the goal. And yes, we saw John Browning's old shop. Not the very first one, I guess, but this one was, I think, vintage 1910. But it was rebuilt. It was a more modern, but it was run down if you saw the picture. I've got some more pictures I want to post just from the trip. I haven't done it on Facebook. I forgot to do that. Been home a couple of days. But just seeing the old guns. His shop is not where the museum is, unfortunately. That'd been a cool place for the museum, wouldn't it? It's in the train station just around the block. And but really cool. A lot of his prototypes, the firearms he actually made are there, that hammered them out, however he did it. I think, several, the automatics, the 1886, I believe there was an 1886 there, one that he actually made, and then one of the production ones and all that. The wood carving of the superposed, the over and under shotgun, they had that wood carving he made for that. They didn't have the wood carving for the 1886. That'd been cool to see. Winchester, but that was neat. The machine guns had all that in there. So if you're ever in Ogden, don't miss it, because Oh man, it's a beautiful city too. Sitting right there, the mountains in the background, and it looks like where his shop was, that the most of the buildings are modern between him and the mountains. So it appears that he could have looked out his window on those beautiful mountains, for inspiration. So it's easy to see where he got his inspiration, or if he just needed to stop and think about something. He apparently did a little thinking. Apparently so. If you're new, well, you're probably not watching this because you're waiting for gunfire. What's this? What's he doing sitting in the woods talking? Shooting the breeze. If you're new to firearms and you don't really know who I'm talking about when I say John Browning, oh man, do some study. And the more you learn about firearms, the more you're going to run across his stuff, okay? His genius. Always wanted to go there. That was on my bucket list. Now I've been there. Okay, can die a happy man. I saw John Browning's hometown, Mecca. Let's see, was he born there? No. Oh man, I should know that. There's an interesting story about him and his father. No doubt about it. How they moved from Illinois. How his dad got started, working as a blacksmith and then fixing firearms as they moved. The Mormons moved westward, and I don't think John Moses was alive during that trek. I think he was born after they got out there. He was born in '55, so yeah, it was after they got out there, I think. But they were still under threat out there by troops stationed there in the area around Ogden, and if you know any of that history of the Mormons and everything. And that was one reason that he was motivated to make good firearms and all that kind of thing from an early age. Very interesting story. So, but anyway, John Browning, cool. I was glad to see Ogden. Probably don't need to go back there unless I'm just in Utah again, because it is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. If you live there, you're lucky, and you know what I'm talking about. Wow, I hope you don't take it for granted if you live there. Please don't take it for granted. It is gorgeous. We stayed in Moab on the way back and did a lot of driving. Drove from, the area, this is a lot of driving. Drove from Las Vegas, of course, up to Ogden. No, wait, we stayed in just south of Salt Lake City, and then we went into Ogden the next morning and drove down to Moab and stayed in Moab the next night. That's a neat place too. Very cool. I want to go back there and take my mountain bike. And then from there we drove to Amarillo, Texas. That's a healthy drive. And from Amarillo, Texas to right here, which was a healthy drive. Didn't have to. I don't know, you just get moving and keep going, So anyway, nice trip. It's an enjoyable trip. Again, and one of the benefits of doing what we do, and again, thank all of you for coming to watch, because you make all that possible. Again, this is our life's work now, is just playing with firearms. Ooh, some people hate to hear me say that, but working, with firearms. All right, shooting firearms and making videos. So actually, it's all important work. It's professional development. We have to go to SHOT Show. It's professional development. It really is. Well, actually, it is. It's what we do. So anyway, that was a lot of fun. While we were in Las Vegas, gosh, it's kind of a morbid topic, but John and I parked up on the other end of the strip. We stayed down at the Venetian, but we at one point we stopped up on the other end, parked, and got out to eat at the New York casino, hotel, whatever. But we're right there at the Mandalay Bay, hotel, casino. And I guess it is kind of morbid, but we actually I was familiar with that hotel, I'd been up there before, but I wanted to see where all that happened, where that shooting took place, and how far it appeared to be, and across the road and all that sort of thing. And we walked back down right there, down the sidewalk where that concert area was, across from the Mandalay Bay. And as someone who does a lot of shooting, you just can't help but be curious about that, especially since there are so many questions that are unanswered about all that. And so I tell you, standing there on the sidewalk, just kind of where the people were shot, right back there, and then looking over there at the Mandalay Bay and the windows. Boy, that's a long way. That's a long way. And of course, rifles will shoot a long way, but that was, I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions. That's pretty fishy, really. If you see that, you stand there, and you think about that. I don't know. I don't want to start conspiracies. There's enough of them out there, and really with good reason, because there's just, for some reason, there's just a lot of information that's being withheld. And then when you do hear something, I heard something out there on a report about they weren't sure for certain whether that security guard was shot at all, or shot with a BB gun, or if he was even shot, and all this kind of stuff, and that the MGM actually either they own or they're a major sponsor of the Ellen show that where he appeared, the only place he appeared, and they own the Mandalay Bay. It's just ripe. It's fertile ground for conspiracies. It just really is. And he, used bump stocks. Really? I remember when I first heard that, I thought, really? Really? Yeah. Boy, whose choice would that be? And when you see the distance, it's crazy. It's just crazy that it happened the way it's supposed to have happened. When you kind of look at that physical distance there, I don't know. Everybody has to draw their own conclusions. Hopefully, we don't have to draw our own conclusions, though, and the FBI and all the investigators will eventually reveal exactly what happened, and maybe we'll know some more about it. But it's just kind of weird. I don't know. I've used bump stocks. I don't know if I get hit anything at that kind of weird angle distance, and it's just weird. It's just weird. It's morbid to talk about, I know, but again, it affects all of us in some ways, either through regulations or just bad publicity for shooters and people who own firearms and all that sort of thing. So you can't help it but kind of study it and wonder about it, that sort of thing. I don't know. But anyway, we'll see what becomes of all of it. It'd be pretty crazy if like bump stocks are banned, or trigger devices or anything of that sort are banned, which in some states are already working on it, and then it turns out that they weren't even used. That's how crazy things are. So anyway, now I won't get too deep into the NRA stuff and all that, but speaking of bump stocks and these trigger devices, we've talked about that kind of stuff enough. We're just going to focus on doing shooting videos. That's what we do for the Second Amendment primarily. There's a lot of other people that speak out on all these issues and pick them apart. So I don't want to get too deep into those weeds, over and over again. But I don't know. I'm still, I've been a supporter of the NRA most of my life, and I'm going to continue. And I've got the card in my pocket. And in fact, I upped my membership to a life membership recently. I just paid the money and did it. I just am concerned about people getting so upset and I don't know, not supporting the NRA as much, and that's not a good thing, in my personal view. Now, we are supported by them, but that's, believe it or not, that is separate from my opinion of what I think and what I'm going to do, and whether I'm going to change my opinion about the NRA. Okay, now I might change it a little bit. Maybe I'm a little more skeptical or something, or I watch them a little more closely. But I don't think I'm going to abandon them. If I do, I'll let you know. You'll be the first to know, or second after I tell them. I don't know, but I tell you how I view it. And you heard me say this for years in the radio shows and back when I was doing those. We did 100 of those podcasts, and I used to talk a lot about how you need to be a member of the NRA. They're not perfect, and they make mistakes, but you need to be a member. They're the big gorilla in the room, and all that. And I still kind of feel that way. I was telling John, I think I answered one of you all in a comment recently. I was trying to think of a good analogy because they obviously make mistakes, or things don't go the way they plan, maybe. And I was just like with the company you worked for and all that. And I was trying to think of a better analogy because the company you work for is not out there on the front lines trying to hold back, the gun control every day, that kind of thing. They're just doing what they do, and they do things right and they do things wrong occasionally. So it's not a bad analogy, but I thought a better analogy, and the way I look at it, you have to look at it how you want. If you have to drop out of the NRA, you do it. Whatever floats your boat. But hopefully you'll study it and think a lot about it. But I think a better analogy is your city fire department. Say if you have a big city and you have a fire department, of course, whether you're Chicago or New York or Nashville or whatever, and that fire department is tasked with keeping the city from burning down. Really. And every day they make runs and they have jobs to do every single day, preventing that from happening, or major buildings burning and people dying and all that kind of thing. And I'm sure occasionally they make mistakes. So they basically are achieving their purpose. They are that line of defense against the evil fire, right? And if you really, though, want to pick apart your city's fire department, you probably could. They're not in the public eye as much, as a like a gun rights group. But I guarantee you, if I looked into the Nashville Fire Department, for example, or the Chicago Fire Department, I'll bet you I could find some real serious mistakes they made, where some business burned and people even died, perhaps because they went to the wrong address, or somebody in the department is incompetent and they set up some system that just didn't work as well. There may be some people that work for that fire department they shouldn't be there. Maybe they might be child molesters or something, and that could hit the news tomorrow or something, about somebody working in the fire department. So what my point is, there could be all kinds of things going on within that organization, but they're still holding back the flood of fire, that could engulf the city, do a lot of damage. And they've been doing that for the last 50 years or 100 years. But they have a lot of warts, perhaps. I don't know. I'm not aware. I'm just making this up. I'm just thinking out loud, which is dangerous. But I know that's a better analogy, I think, and it's why, you got to have it. And you got to stay in touch with it and try to fix it, of course, if there are problems, because they are a massive force holding at bay, in the NRA's case, the anti-gunners, and in your fire department's case, the fire and everything else that goes on in the city. I don't know if that's a good analogy or not, but it's kind of the way I think about it. It's not going to be perfect, and they're going to make mistakes, and some of them may be unintentional. There could be people within the fire department that are, and what happens in a fire department occasionally, you'll have someone infiltrated. They'll be in there working, maybe as an officer, and they're actually an arsonist. They have what's it called? I'm drawing a blank. If you get your kicks or jollies, seeing things burn. Oh gosh, I can't think of the word right now. But they uncover that occasionally. Someone who's actually starting fires, and then just to see it burn. Within the fire department. So you get weird things like that too. But again, by and large, you rely on them, and you can't just replace them tomorrow. That's your force. That's your force you're supporting to protect you every day. Okay, you just try to do the best you can to make sure it's right. And because it's so big, you're going to have issues. It's that simple. So anyway, I guess I'm defending the NRA. It may become a day when I don't. But as of today, I'm still defending the NRA. It's just so easy to jump on a bandwagon and start bashing any group, and I'm not one to do that or jump on a bandwagon. And it can be picked apart. You can do research and do your serious research on any organization, and you can make them sound like Hitler's Nazis. Really, just pick out the negative stuff, the things they didn't get done right. Things maybe even intentionally. It looks like they did something intentionally. They are evil, but it wasn't intentional necessarily. It was to thwart some other force. It was a deal that it was going to be worse. So I don't know. To me, that makes any sense. I talked about it more than I should. Like I said, I'm going to stay off that pretty much because there's no it's like discussing, it's getting to the point where it's like discussing religion or something. You know, people are going to believe what they want to believe, and they're going to believe whoever is the most charismatic on the topic or on this specific religion, or whatever it is. So that's one thing I don't argue religion ever, and so I'm not going to argue this too much. I just kind of let you know how I think about it. That's my perspective, because there may be some people that think, and I'll get a message like that occasionally. Well, Hickok, what's wrong with you? Don't you know haven't you heard the NRA is for gun control, and stuff like that. I say, yeah, okay, yeah, right. I hadn't heard that. Yeah, it's interesting. So it's kind of want to talk about that a little bit. But all in all, back to the trip. It was a great trip, and we're going to be getting some of those firearms in hand to bring to you. Like I say, this week I'll have I don't know when you'll see this, probably when you turn on your computer and look at it, but I'll have the SIG P365 in over the next couple of days. The 19X Glock, the PC carbine from Ruger, and we've got a couple other firearms we've not gotten to. Actually 3 or 4, I think, that we want to bring out. Of course, the weather's really bad right now. Some of our videos we stocked up here, so we're going to be doing some new videos here from time to time, but it's February. It's not even February as I say this, but it's almost February, and not a lot of good weather. So I'm kind of looking forward to weather getting better, though. Today is unusual. It's a little warmer, so I thought I'd come out and chat with you. But we'll be doing some firearms that you've been asking about a lot. And I guess I don't have any more cats to let out of the bag on firearms, but we got some other things we'll do. Anyway, I'm just rambling. That's what you do when you sit in the woods talking to yourself. We'll be, let's see, speaking of NRA, we'll be at the Nra Convention. I don't know when the times are yet for the meet and greets, but we usually do 2 or 3 there. So that's in Dallas. I don't know the dates. It's April or May, as it is every year. Greatest gun show on earth, and it's downtown Dallas. We'll see many of you there, I'm sure. I always like to come to Texas, and we'll post that in the descriptions when we find out. Put the dates there, okay? So what else? I think I should shoot this. I don't have my ears, so I can't shoot it. The other reason is I don't have my ammo. I love these things. Oh man, if you don't have a revolver, be getting one, be making plans. If it's 10 years from now, if it's 2 months, be making plans, please, whether it's a single action or a double action, because they're just so much fun to shoot. So much fun. In a lot of ways, they're more fun than a semi-automatic, believe it or not. You will really like it. You'll really enjoy it. I'm sure, I have no doubt. Okay, it's hard to get Stag Handles anymore. They're expensive, that's for sure. But boy, aren't they pretty? Aren't they beautiful? They just really set off an old Colt. I just love these things, and I hope that never comes a day when Colt is not making them. I will cry. I will make a video if I hear they are not making these anymore. And that video will be nothing but me sitting in the woods, maybe fondling one of these, crying for about 40 minutes. So I might not say a word to you. I'll just be sitting here crying, and you'll know what it's about. So, again, we appreciate you all watching more than you know. Oh yeah, I just realized a couple days ago, I think we crossed 3 million subscribers. And you're likely one of them, right? So we appreciate you guys coming back. I mean, the growth is stronger than it's ever been. It's just, I don't know why. How do so many people have such poor taste? You got an answer for that? No, you have good taste, right? But we really do appreciate you guys watching, and we never take it for granted, and we're not going to change. We're going to keep doing what we've been doing. Just because there's more people watching, it doesn't make me any more nervous than I always have been. Obviously, if I were nervous, I'd probably prepare better for a video. I'd probably sound more intelligent, okay? So I'm just destined to be the way I am, and so is John. As you can tell, he's a lot like me. He's doing a good job on the videos, isn't he? So I need to get him to fill in more often, or not every other video necessarily, but I need to get him on front of the camera more often because he does a great job. He does a much better job doing the video than I do filming it, right? Yeah, I know, y'all give me a hard time about my camera work sometimes. But anyway, I digress and I ramble, so I'll let you go. It's been good talking to you. I'm sorry you didn't have anything to say, but we'll talk to you later. We'll see you on the road. I run into you guys a lot, you know. It's almost everywhere I go nowadays, seems like. And again, it's always good to see you. Say hi. Don't ever hesitate to say hi. Don't write me the next day or that night. So, hey, I saw you at the mall. I saw you. I didn't want to bother you. It's not a bother. It's not a bother to say hi. Okay, unless I'm heavily flirting with a couple of hot blondes or something. Okay, that's the only time I just assume you didn't bother me. But since I'm rarely doing that, don't worry about bothering me. Life is good. Oh, I forgot to shut him off. Where's my remote? Okay, I was supposed to do that very smoothly again. I think I did this the last time, didn't I? See, I don't get any smarter now, regardless of how long we do this. Okay. Life is good.